Apple and Samsung are asking you for a serious financial commitment this year. The iPhone 17 Pro Max starts at $1,200, and the Galaxy S26 Ultra pushes the cost even higher to $1,300. If you're looking for a performance gap to make that decision easy, you won't find one. Both of these phones are lightning fast. They handle heavy 3D gaming and massive multitasking without a single hiccup. They've even converged on the physical build. Both manufacturers drop titanium, returning to an aluminum unibody design, and both packed in updated vapor chambers to keep those high-end processors running cool under heavy loads. The real division comes down to how they deploy that power. Apple doubled down on refined hardware endurance, focusing on making the phone last as long as physically possible. Samsung went the other way, pouring its resources into deep software automation to actively complete tasks for you. This diagram lays out the exact trade-off you're making. For well over $1,000, you're choosing between a system built to maximize hardware efficiency or a system built to automate your software. The raw specs are effectively a tie. Figuring out which device wins comes down to looking at your specific daily workflow and deciding which set of compromises actually makes your life easier. Let's start with how these phones manage their power. Apple used the new unibody design of the 17 Pro Max to free up internal space, allowing them to increase the physical battery capacity by up to 8%. When you pair that larger battery with the high efficiency of the A19 Pro chip, the result is incredibly reliable all-day endurance. The battery drain during idle and low power use is effectively negligible. Samsung, meanwhile, hasn't moved the needle on physical capacity. The S26 Ultra relies on the exact same battery size they've used for the last 6 years. This chart breaks down how these two power strategies play out in the real world. We're tracking overall battery endurance vertically against how convenient it is to actually recharge the device horizontally. The Galaxy pushes hard on the x-axis. Samsung upgraded their wired charging to 60 watts, meaning if your phone dies in the middle of the day, you can plug it into a wall and get back to full extremely quickly. Apple moves up the y-axis. Their wired charging caps at 40 watts, but they hold a massive advantage in daily convenience with MagSafe and Qi 2 magnetic wireless charging. The S26 Ultra actually has the hardware to support the Qi 2 standard, but Samsung left the magnetic ring out. Strong magnets physically interfere with the electromagnetic digitizer required to make the S Pen function. The result is a clean split. Apple delivers raw, all-day endurance and frictionless magnetic charging, while Samsung caters strictly to the heavy user who needs the fastest possible wired top-up at their desk. Moving to the screens, Apple pushes visual specs to the limit. The iPhone hits a massive 3,000 nits of peak brightness and covers the panel with their highly scratch-resistant ceramic shield glass. They also added the ability to control the screen's PWM flicker. If you use your phone at night with low brightness, this directly reduces eye strain. Samsung takes a completely different route. They built the world's first built-in privacy display directly into the hardware. This diagram shows what's happening at the pixel level. With a few taps, microscopic shutters physically close off the angular light paths. You see the screen perfectly straight on, but anyone sitting next to you sees absolute darkness. But look at the trade-off in light output. When you force those shutters to close, the display takes a noticeable hit to both its maximum resolution and its overall brightness. Fortunately, you don't have to leave it on permanently. You can automate the system to activate the privacy mode only when you open a banking app, or tell it to turn on automatically the moment you leave your house. You give up some visual fidelity when you walk out the front door, but you gain absolute security on a crowded train or in a cafe. Samsung targets the commuter, while Apple guarantees peak visual purity in every environment. When we test the camera systems, we see a similar split in utility. Apple added a new square sensor to the front-facing camera, which lets you shoot wide horizontal group photos without having to physically rotate the phone. Combine that with Apple's reliable out-of-camera color science, which naturally favors warmer tones and perfectly clean shadows. It's a point-and-shoot system designed to give you a finished image the second you tap the shutter. Samsung leans hard into specialized tools. They introduced Horizon Lock for video. You can physically rotate the phone 360 degrees in your hand, and the software keeps the subject perfectly upright and stabilized. They also maintain a significant hardware lead for deep-range optical zoom, utilizing dedicated 3x and 5x telephoto lenses to pull sharp details out of distant subjects. Their biggest investment, though, is in post-processing. With AI Photo Assist, you can type out a text prompt to completely swap out the sky or remove entire subjects from the background of an image you've already taken. This chart visualizes the hidden cost of those features. Managing massive high-res photos and Samsung's new APV log video codecs generates incredibly heavy data loads. To handle it securely without paying endless monthly cloud fees, you really need a dedicated network-attached storage drive. The camera choice comes down to your workflow. Apple built a reliable system for the person who wants to share a photo instantly. Samsung built a prosumer toolkit for the person who wants to shoot now and deeply manipulate the data later. That same logic applies entirely to the software. iOS 26 is undeniably smooth, highly secure, and deeply integrated with Macs and iPads. But Apple tightly restricts how much you can actually modify the interface. You feel that rigidity in daily use. The native Apple Intelligence features are still struggling to catch up to earlier promises, and you're stuck using an iOS keyboard that still lacks a dedicated number row at the top. One UI is the exact opposite. Once you install Samsung's Good Lock app, the operating system acts like a highly adaptable digital assistant instead of a static grid of apps. The best example is the Now Nudge tool built right into the Samsung keyboard. It passively monitors the context of your text message conversations and pulls up relevant photos or files exactly when you're talking about them. The native Gemini integration takes it a step further. You can tell your phone to book a ride to the airport, and it will navigate the Uber app and coordinate the booking entirely in the background while you check your email. Samsung is also bridging the gap between ecosystems by becoming the first Android manufacturer to natively support Apple's AirDrop protocol. In our testing, we were able to move high-res video files between the S26 and an iPhone 17 instantly, removing one of the biggest walls keeping users locked into iOS. One UI requires you to spend time learning its menus, but it actively saves you time every day afterward. iOS prioritizes immediate safety and simplicity, even if it means doing tasks the long way. This flowchart brings all these tests into a final decision. Instead of comparing spec sheets, look at how you actually interact with your technology. If you are entirely friction-averse, your path moves left. You value maximum raw battery endurance, the daily ease of MagSafe charging, and a point-and-shoot camera. For that user, the iPhone 17 Pro Max is the most reliable tool you can buy. But if you view your phone as an active workspace, you move down the right path. You need the security of a physical privacy screen, deep-range optical zoom, and AI handling background tasks. For the power optimizer, the Galaxy S26 Ultra offers significantly more utility. And with Samsung integrating AirDrop natively, the traditional walls keeping you trapped in one ecosystem are finally beginning to crumble. Your $1,200 investment should solve the specific daily friction you find most annoying. A phone that handles your background tasks or stays alive through a second day of travel provides more value than a high benchmark score ever will.